here to the next spot on the board. And I want to get involved here. 1 p.m. Eastern, San Francisco 49ers, 13-4, 5-3 on the road. Everybody that runs with me knows my football team. My mom's whole side of the family's from San Francisco. So I, just grew up with being inundated with 49er news and gear and the sorry, he's not my grandpa. The man who made love to my grandma, he was a huge 49er fan. And is it love at that point when you're 75 banging? He was huge, and we watched all the old tapes of the Niners game, and I was, no one was allowed to talk during the play, and we studied it all, and so, and good God, do I want to fade them here? Do I want to fade them here? I want to fade them so badly, and who better than you to fade your team? 73 Fahrenheit at Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, mostly cloudy. Niners win total at 10.5. NFC West minus 175. NFC plus 350. Super Bowl plus 900. They have this very, very difficult travel schedule. They're set up also with a ton of rest advantages on the opponent having rest advantage consistently throughout the season. These numbers, the NFC at plus 350 and the Super Bowl at plus 900, they're going to get better. I have no futures on the 49ers. That 10.5 juice to minus 155. Do you want to move that up to 11.5? All right, let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Now, it's really important to get that 3. The 3's gone. We know that I was all preseason just chanting that Tomlin is the new Harbaugh in the preseason, and they just look locked in and ready to go. And we all remember what the 49ers did last year at Chicago in week 1. It was a debacle. This 3 moved to 2.5. It was moving in the end of August, like even August 21st. I mean, the plus 3 was minus 120, and it kept growing until it moved to 2.5. So it's moved past that extremely crucial number. Let's take a look at I got the total on a different page. Let's bring up the total for this one. This is sitting at 40.5 at Pinnacle. It opened up at 41.5. I'm very interested in this under as well. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for Steelers 49ers. How much fun. I cannot wait for 1 p.m. Sunday when you open up a drink and you're sitting there watching Niners Steelers week 1 of the NFL season. And you're just like, God, it's gonna feel so good. 42% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on the Pittsburgh Steelers. From a total side of things, 65% of the tickets, 72% cash on the over. Gagnon says, why fade the 49ers? They should have won the Super Bowl. They lost all their quarterbacks. Even I'm a 49er fan, and I don't believe that. But let's talk about why we would. Joe saying, sounds like Pickett going to air it out listening to Tomlin today. Starting with the Niners, since taking over as head coach in 2017, Shanahan 2-4 straight up and 1-5 against the spread in week 1 openers. We have Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, is Brock Purdy him? I don't know. I don't know. Kyle Shanahan seems to get the most out of every quarterback the 49ers have under center. He's a genius offensively. They have a strong offensive line. They have plenty of weapons. McCaffrey, 13 touchdowns in 14 games. Deebo Samuel, so talented. Brandon Ayuk has gotten better every year. And even when he was struggling, he kept his mouth shut. He did his job, and he gets respect. George Kittle is a monster. 49ers defense ranks number 1 on most lists. They have the best run defense in the NFL. In 2022, they allowed just 77.7 yards rushing per game, 3.4 yards per carry to opponents. They allowed just 17.2 points per game last season. Now they lose defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans, but they replace him with Steve Wilkes, who was extremely impressive in that interim stint in Carolina. All but 2 starters are back from 2022, but Nick Bosa's going to hold out, and it's going to stretch into the regular season. They did add Javon Hargrave to that nasty front 7. They still have Eric Armstead on the line, one of the best linebacker cores with Greenlaw and Fred Warner. They safety was an issue, and they bring in Jair Brown. What are your thoughts on the 49ers, and what are your thoughts on the 49ers here in week 1?
This 49ers team, I mean, I go back and forth with this team a lot in the past few years. This team's probably going to be good once again. And they got a great team still, despite the fact that they lost 5 key defensive players. Jimmy Ward, Mosley, Alshair, Charles Omenihu. But the big one to me was Jimmy Ward, who's been a staple, stud, all-pro safety in the league, consistently putting out good numbers. And you look at the offensive side of things, I think their defense is going to be fine, despite losing some of those pieces. Purdy, on the other hand, I just have a feeling he's more of a product of Kyle Shanahan than he is ready to excel at a high level in this league. But does that change this season? Kyle Shanahan is still coaching the San Francisco 49ers, right? So yeah, I go back and forth with this 49ers team, and I won't talk about my bet yet for this game yet without touching base on the Steelers. But I'm a little bit, I would say I'm lower than the market and lower than the general public on the 49ers this season.
Well, there's going to be an opportunity to get on the 49ers. Right. And it's going to come later in the season. Maybe it doesn't come until the playoffs. We're going to get a better number than what's available right now. They have a horrible schedule. Let's talk about the Steelers.
Jimmy, what's this defensive line look like to you? I mean, do you think they're going to be what they're touted to be, the second rated team per PFF?
I mean, with Bosa not out there, it's not going to be as strong. He's the good Bosa.
He's the good Bosa.
I mean, my dad's a Chargers fan. He despises his brother, but but they have monsters all over this defense. This defense is so talented. It's so strong. I mean, we're going to see what the Chiefs defense looks like without Chris Jones. And I'm telling you, the Niners defense is going to handle the Bosa loss better than the Chiefs defense handles the Chris Jones loss. So I think this defense is going to be very strong. And generally speaking, I would be all over the under in this one. Saturate says, is Bosa going to continue holding out? It's going to stretch on till next week is what I've heard, but at least next week is what I've heard, but we'll see. So let's talk about the Steelers though, because I do see now that you have tweeted out your action. I can't wait for you to talk about it. And Sky Dragon says under for sure, can probably only play San Francisco. Not that I want to, says Sky Dragon. Gagnon said I would not bet against the Steelers here, but I love the 49ers with McCaffrey overall. Let's talk about the Steelers. Over 8.5. Juiced heavily to the over. AFC North at plus 475. AFC at 25-1. Super Bowl at 40-1. Mike Tomlin has been so good in his career when the spread's within a field goal. And then he's even better when he's a dog. And then he's even better when he's a home dog. I mean, it's just, you're putting everything in this perfect world for the Steelers. 26-12-3 against the spread as underdogs of a field goal or shorter. They were 3-0-1 against the spread as dogs of +3 or shorter last season. Then you go to a home underdog. That's happened only 21 times during the regular season. 14-4-3 against the spread. 73.8%. Kenny Pickett, I have a real. Now let's start. Okay, so Kenny Pickett, he struggled in his rookie season. 2,404 yards, completion rate of 63%, 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He didn't have, with the injuries on defense, he was on the field. His defense wasn't allowing him the opportunity that they're going to offer him this year. The problem is the concussions are going to happen. You are going to have a winning bet turn into a losing bet at some point with the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I'm not to sit here and think that Kenny Pickett and Tua Tagovailoa are going to play throughout this season. To me, it's just a dream world. It's just I just don't see it happening because of how big of a concern concussions are right now, that even if he gets hurt and it's not a concussion, he's not coming back in. But I think that he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, and I think it's going to be this year until he gets knocked out. George Pickens is spectacular. Unbelievable. He is capable of exploding this year. Najee Harris was not quite as good as what we saw in his rookie season, but he's very dangerous running the ball, catching it out of the backfield. Pickett needs to have check down options, and he has them galore with Najee Harris. The offensive line, and Harris still ran for 1,034 yards and caught for 229. It's not like he had a bad season. The offensive line is strong, and the offense got better and better last year as the season went on. I mean, Pickett got more comfortable. They got better and better. Now, when you watch the Steelers, it's hard with Matt Canada. It's hard watching his play calling, but they ranked 7th in DVOA from week 10 on. And Matt Canada takes all this abuse, but he has all the weapons now to not be so vanilla if he so chooses. And this is a pedestrian defense without TJ Watt. And with them, they're so good. And the secondary was so good last year, without the pressure that TJ Watt brings. So 20 interceptions without TJ Watt causing all this mayhem up front. Minka Fitzpatrick missed multiple games last year. So did Keelio Witherspoon, but he's not there anymore. They bring Patrick Peterson into the secondary. They sign defensive tackle Braden Fauco, linebacker Cole Holcomb. They draft Joey Porter Jr. in the second round for their secondary. They draft Keanu Benton, Nick Herbig for their front seven. They're going to be really good this year. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm interested in your AFC North spot. I think the number's right. For me, it's a plus 475. And the more I'm interested here, but I want to hear what you have to say. Take it away and let everybody know your action here for Steelers Niners.
You took the words out of my mouth with Kenny Pickett and concussions. So I was looking at this, between the Browns and the Steelers and which team I wanted to put my money on to win the division. And that definitely played a role in my decision to go with the Browns, because we've seen that Jacoby Brissett was able to succeed at quarterback with the Browns, with the Browns and what they had to offer, right? I don't know if that would be the case with the Steelers. And who's their backup, Jimmy? I don't even know who the Steelers backup is.
Well, they have pretty decent, and that's why they were such a great preseason bet. That's why they were bet on in the preseason, because their backup and third string are interchangeable. Now in the preseason, those quarterbacks are going to be very good. And when they're would look in the preseason, Trubisky's bet on, but in the regular season, it's a problem. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But that's exactly why I went with the Browns, because of this Pickett concussion debacle. But I mean, the Steelers are solid at all the positions I value the most, right? The pillars, I call them: offensive line, D line, the defensive backfield. And I think Pickett is ready to take some steps forward. And I think you can throw Tomlin in there with the quarterback a little bit, because he has a little bit of magic. He definitely does. I think that this team is positioned to take one of the biggest steps forward year over year, kind of like I was talking about with the Browns. They arguably have the best defensive line in the league. I think they have a underrated secondary, to say the least, with Patrick Peterson, Minka Fitzpatrick. They drafted Joey Porter, who I think is going to be able to make an impact. Their defensive line is freaking stacked with players who are going to make an impact. And, I look at this receiver group: Deontay Johnson, George Pickens is the headlines for this group. I mean, Pickens' ball skills are incredible. He doesn't create much separation, but it just consistently doesn't seem to matter. He consistently, puts up numbers and is making great catches. Ultimately, this Steelers team versus the 49ers, I'm on the Steelers +3. I tweeted it out maybe a month ago at this point. I'm also on the Steelers with a teaser with the Cleveland Browns. So those are the two spots I'm on. I mean, ultimately, I think there will be a little bit of regression to some extent especially early on, as the 49ers defense tries to figure themselves out. Brock Purdy is definitely a big question mark for me. Bosa holding out. And then, I could give you a bunch of stats till I'm blue in the face about Tomlin as a home dog, 14-4 ATS. Steelers 8-2 last year, straight up, with TJ Watt in the game. That just shows you what type of impact he has on the game. 8-2 straight up when TJ Watt played. And the Niners last year were only 2-4. ATS is a road favorite. And then if you look at the database and see how this line functionality plays, when the spreads open at 3 or higher and close below 3 for a home dog, 5-1 straight up, 5-1 ATS which is starting to make me want some Steelers on the money line action. But for right now, I'm on the Steelers with the points and the teaser.
I've got to get involved. I also want the under. I want the under as well. I think the under is going to catch. I think Purdy's. Look, I think it's really difficult to follow up what happened last year. No pressure on him. Now he's the guy. And I think that he may be fine 2 months from now. But right now, I don't I'm very, very interested in the Steelers and the under, and I expect to move on them tonight.
How high are the Niners on Purdy to trade away what they've mortgaged so much on and take Purdy as their starting quarterback? I mean, that's my only, I think about Brock Purdy and I'm like, he's got to be the guy if they're betting this big on this kid.
I see it a little different. I don't think there's a problem with admitting you made a mistake. You're a winning franchise year after year. You made a terrible mistake, a horrific blunder. Let's move on.
So it's not as much Purdy as it is. They just fucking.
It depends how you see it. It depends how you see it. But for me, the way I see this, we've made a horrific mistake. We're men. Well, let's admit it and let's move on. We have a great football team here. That's the way I see it. I don't see it saying Purdy is the quarterback for the next decade. He's who we're going to put. I says, look, we screwed up. We made a mistake. Let's get him out. We don't want him sulking around here, and let's move on.
I can get behind that. That makes sense.
All right, let's. Oh, and there, of course, Tuesday, September 5th, we have our guy Razor Sharp picks in the chat on his birthday. Happy birthday, Razor. Man, I didn't put that together at first. Happy birthday, Razor, my man.
Happy birthday, Razor.
Yeah, what a great guy and great capper. All right, so we know the spot now. The teaser hasn't been tweeted out yet.
Yes, correct. I have not tweeted out the teaser.
But
so right now, what is it? 8.5 both ways.
Yeah, still available. Yeah, and that +3 was a great look. Great job there.
I knew, and that's the thing. I mean, it was painful for me because I was like, I know this 3 ain't gonna fucking be here on Tuesday, September 5th. You know what I mean?
Oh, you nailed it.